Star Wars alternate history. Please don't turn this episode off just because you see Jar Jar Binks, because this question deals with basically what if Jar Jar Binks didn't show up. The true question to this episode is, what if Jar Jar Binks didn't find Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jin? So we are going to be looking into the effects of Jar Jar Binks basically not even being in the movies, because Jar Jar Binks never meets them. He essentially doesn't exist in this universe, or at least we are not aware of his existence, as he would remain as, I guess, in exile from the Gungans. So, first thing we're going to look at is the effects of Jar Jar Binks not being there on episode 1. So the first thing we have is there would be a longer occupation. You have to see Jar Jar Binks help Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi find their way to Naboo's capital with the help of the rest of the Gungans. Without the Gungan help and the knowledge that the Gungans were there, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn never would have made it, as they weren't looking for the Gungans until they ran into Jar Jar. So it would have taken them longer, and by this point, we wouldn't know what situation Queen Amidala would be in. She may have been executed by Newt Gunray by this point, because as we all know, Newt Gunray, everyone right now, sorry, but as is a common fact in the Star Wars universe, after watching Star Wars Clone Wars, Newt Gunray hates Padme Amidala with a passion. If he could, he would kill her easily. So I would have to imagine that, I don't remember what exactly sparked his hatred, but he would probably want to kill Amidala off, seeing as she is the queen and ruler, to take away hope from Naboo from being released. So this would obviously have many political implications on the future, as Amidala became a political figure and the ambassador to the senator for the Senate, Republic Senate. But as I did with Leia, that would be its own video if that were to happen. So if that's something you want to see, let me know, because there were many laws and such that she pushed for and helped pass. So all you need to know is that stuff wouldn't happen, and Jar Jar Binks, even though people may hate him, his involvement basically kept her from dying, or may have, and also helped save Naboo in the long run. The next thing we need to look at is the Gungans themselves. So the Gungans are really influential in episode 1. The reason is they go into battle with the droids, taking some focus off the droid army on the capital city of Theed, giving them a better ability to attack. Without Jar Jar Binks, they wouldn't have met the Gungans, because Jar Jar Binks was the link for them to the Gungans. They wouldn't have the Gungan army to help them out. Without the help of the Gungan army, it would have been much harder for them to attack Theed. And even though the Gungan army was nearly killed off, Theed would be much harder to take back, as with more droids, obviously, there's going to be a bigger stronghold on the planet. So, the next thing we're going to see is Anakin. Anakin becomes a big role, and this is all because they make it to Tatooine. The question is, would they still make it to Tatooine if Jar Jar Binks didn't lead them to Naboo? There's really no telling because the Queen won't be with them. So if she was executed, so there's it's not necessary for them to take the Queen's ship. They could have Amidala's ship. They could have taken another ship. Sorry about that. They could have taken another ship that had fuel or was more easily able to outmaneuver the droids and wouldn't have been hurt off of exiting the planet. So it's less likely that Tatooine would have been their choice planet to stop with if they used another ship went that they took in a direction. Even taking another ship doesn't mean they'll necessarily be heading towards Tatooine anymore. So essentially, this changes everything because Anakin's no longer going to be there, and that means he won't be there to save the Gungan army that necessarily won't exist anymore in the movie because Jar Jar wasn't there. So essentially, Jar Jar is the essential character in saving Naboo in Episode 1. Now let's look at some of the simpler effects Jar Jar Binks has on the future of the Republic in Episodes 2 and 3, as I don't think there's that much in Star Wars Clone Wars to really talk about with the effects of Jar Jar not being there as having never met Obi-Wan or Qui Gon. So, Jar Jar becomes a representative. The most important thing to note about Jar Jar, the only important thing that I can think of in episodes 2 and 3 with Jar Jar, is the fact that he raises Senate approval for electing Chancellor Palpatine to the new spot as being the leader of the Republic Senate. Essentially, without Jar Jar being there and being dumb enough to give his support, the Sith may not have risen to power. Without the Sith in power, it's less likely the Republic army will turn on the Jedi, or it would even exist at the time of need against the Separatists. If it wasn't there in the time of need against Separatists, which obviously a lack of an army, and the Republic could have easily been taken down. But even if they still had an army, Jar Jar wouldn't have given the power to Palpatine that he needed. So that would be influential later on, as the fall of the Jedi may not have happened, or if it happened, basically I'm saying the power of Palpatine was needed in that chair, that position, that helped. It also helped them get support from senators or the voice of their publics, their planets. So it helps public support. So Jar Jar helped him get elected. But even if he did that, he didn't know what he was doing. Therefore, we can't condemn him for it. But he did save a planet in essence by helping out 2 Jedi. So does his good outweigh bad? There's no knowing, but alternate history would show that Amidala would die, Naboo would have been taken over, but Palpatine wouldn't rise to power without Jar Jar meeting and finding Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui Gon Jin. Thanks. This was Minecraft and Dano, another episode of Star Wars Alternate History. Come back next time.